And let's talk about heated rivalry. So, of course, everybody is loving heated rivalry. The women are loving it. The gays are loving it. Even straight people, guys, are loving it. I'm even starting to see YouTube commentators like Greg Alba, who I love me some Greg Alba because I like Real Rejects and all the stuff. They've been doing a rewatch of the episodes of Heated Rivalry and be up in there crying and loving it. And he is happily married to a woman. Like, so shout out to the straight people who are open-minded enough that they could appreciate the gay shows without acting like corny ass closet case Andrew Scholes. Where y'all gotta go, ooh, oh my god, why are you showing me that? I'm like, what are you, two? Like, grow the fuck up. And even 2-year-olds wouldn't even respond to that. They only respond in those ways because you live in a homophobic household and they tell you that this is how you need to respond to stuff. So shout out to all the allies and everybody who's out there enjoying this show. Not Miley Cyrus, because Miley Cyrus want to jump on the bandwagon and record a song for a show she ain't watched. But nevertheless, Hudson Williams, who is on the show, recently spoke out about I think he went and did an interview with all people, Andy Cohen, on his Radio Andy show, and basically revealed that he has had closeted athletes hit him up and tell them their stories about what it's like being in the closet and an athlete. So the 24-year-old told Andy Cohen on an upcoming episode of Sirius XM's Andy Cohen Live, airing on today, January 8th, saying it's definitely the people who reach out somewhat anonymously who are like, I'm still a professional player, still, and I'm in the closet. Williams said in a clip released ahead of the episode. Williams confirmed that he's heard from closeted hockey, football, and basketball players when Cohen followed up, saying they're reaching out to Rachel Reed, our author, who will then relay these lovely anonymous emails. Sometimes they're reaching out privately, though, like through like Instagram. So if they're sending private email, I'm sure you could probably do the tracing and figure out who they are. But I don't think don't let's not out them. I wouldn't want to know. I mean, me being nosy, I would want to know who they. But everybody needs to come out in their own time. I just feel like if people were more open minded when it regards to gays and sports, because you have to realize not every gay person is a stereotype or someone that's clockable or someone that is, they do drag or they do hair makeup or whatever the case is. There are some gay guys who play football, who play baseball, who play basketball, who play hockey, who play all kinds of athletic stuff, who are in the UFC, who are boxers, who do all these things, but they can't come out because the image is all about machismo or whatever the case is. And if we know that homosexuals like sports and go to sports events, then why would anybody be surprised that there are athletes that also are part of the Levitical community? So he said those ones are the ones that really hit you and go, oh, so this is a fun show and it's celebratory, but also sometimes it's just hitting people right in the nerves. But I always said that. I was like, not only do I feel like this show, Heated Rivalry, will do for this generation what Chris Folk did for my generation. I also feel like because you're talking about athletes and homosexuality and the fact that there are closeted people in sports, and this is something that they're dealing with, hopefully they'll dive more into that side with season 2 instead of just relying on the sexual scenes. I mean, don't get me wrong, the sex scenes is good too, but I want a little more of that deep conversation regarding like what it's like being an athlete and closeted and what they have to deal with and the sneaking around. Also, I mean, we saw a bit of the sneaking around, a lot of the sneaking around in the show, but the fact that there are athletes out there that are secretly watching the show when it's resonating with them and they're like, oh yeah, these are things that I'm going through, and I'm reaching out to these people being like, yeah, I'm going through this stuff too, and thank you. And maybe what also they could put up in there is kind of be a closeted consultant, which is like, oh, this is not realistic. This is what you should probably incorporate in the show to make it more realistic. Who knows? Maybe they're just at this point just revealing how they feel and how the show makes them feel and what they're going through, hiding who they are, but they're just one of the top whatever in the world. Because I'm sure some of y'all fave basketball players, baseball players, football players, they like to ping. and they going around sneaking around and messing with people and having to have them sign NDAs and keeping it like trust and believe it exists. Now, Williams also touched on commentary that the show was helping dismantle toxic masculinity, sharing his frustrations with some of the assumptions people can make, saying, "quote What's always been wait." What's always been something that frustrates me or frustrated me, not even with like other men, but also just there's a lot of taboos around exploring physical intimacy with people you admire and love without people, especially in Western culture, being like, oh, they're fucking, they're doing this. I just was always frustrated by these kinds of notions, especially with Connor's story, who I love dearly. It was something I was always adamant that no matter what people think or want to infer, I'm always going to just physically express my love. I feel like if you're still biased or jaded or uncomfortable with expressing physical love for people in 2025, you got to just fucking, get over yourself. I agree with that because I was watching a GQ interview with him and Connor, and he would put his hand on his leg, and they were like being very intimate with each other, and not in a way where it's like sexual. It's just it shouldn't be looked at as a negative or a taboo if young men are showing affection towards each other. Like when I work in these sports events and stuff, I see like when the guys have had a couple of beers, I'm not saying they damn near screwing each other, but you see a lot of when they drink and they relax a little bit, they're being very affectionate with their friends or whatever. And it's not a gay thing. And I don't think people should look at it as a gay thing, unless you start seeing them tonguing each other down and eat each other's ass in the roles of which I'm working at MSG, then we can sit up and say they gay. But for the most part, I like the fact that men younger guys are feeling more comfortable being intimate with their friends, smacking them on the butt, being very engaging with the sports and all that stuff, which is what they do in sports anyway, smacking each other on the butt and stuff. So we got to stop looking at everything as being a sexual thing, or because that's where our mind goes with stuff. And it's more or less embedded in Western culture. If you go outside in the world to other places, they're very much affectionate and very open, and they're not always all about, oh, you're in my space. I mean, space. You know how some people get with all of that, where it's like, oh, if you're a little too close to people, they get all like, what you trying to do? So y'all didn't relax with that. And that's what because it's embedded in our culture, the religion and all that other mess, that we're all more accepting of violent things happening, but intimacy is a negative. So Hudson has been making his rounds as of late. He recently showed up, I think last night he was on Jimmy Fallon. And Connor's story, I believe, is going to be at the Golden Globes along with Hudson. They're going to be presenting at the Golden Globes. We already saw that Hater Rivalry was nominated for a GLAAD Award. The show is definitely breaking boundaries, and I'm hoping that with the success of this show, because we've been talking so much on here about so many queer-based shows are getting canceled, but to be honest, a lot of those shows that were coming around, I kind of found them boring. So it's no shade. I kind of see why a lot of those shows got canceled. But to me, it's like the first. I mean, Heated Rivalry is the first show I feel like in a long time that's queer coded, that's or queer based. I can't say queer coded. There's nothing code about it. It's like in your face, but a queer centric show that has me interested is hot guys, lots of sex, and sports. So that's up my alley. So I just hope that we get, with the success of Heated Rivalry, that we get to see more shows like this getting made. I'm not saying it got to be now. We got to make a show about closeted basketball players or another show about closeted UFC fighters. I'm not saying we got to do that, but if we can get shows that unapologetically showing men being intimate with each other, but also different stories revolving different aspects of the queer community that kind of follows the formula of that. It don't have to be rooted in sports. If you want to bring the sex and all other stuff in, because people who don't like sex, even though a lot of people be out here thumbing their nose at the stuff, I know y'all be watching. So I say all this to say, when you guys think of what Hudson had to say, I mean, to be honest, I'm not surprised that people would be reaching out to him and Connor and the person who wrote the books and telling them their stories or whatever. I'm not surprised by that. I would expect that a lot of them would do that based off of the success of the show and how the show resonates. And who knows? I'm thinking like Sean Avery might be right. when he was more optimistic, even though I know a lot of people don't like Sean Avery because of stuff he's done in the past, but he was the one that was kind of being all more or less a champion for a show like Heated Rivalry, where there was that other athlete, I can't remember, who I believe was a hockey player and he was out and no longer is out, where he wasn't as enthusiastic. He was caught, I guess, cautiously optimistic, but kind of teetered more on the negative in regards to what he had to say. So I'm, as much as this Republican or this Trump administration be trying to hate on the gays and the LGBTs in general, we ain't going nowhere. And I hope that this show helps break this stigma regarding athletes and homosexuality. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.